All right, guys. So today we're going to go over a little bit of good news and a little bit of bad news. I guess bad news first, as always, right? Oscar is officially not going to be able to use Realm anymore in his decks. So just kind of want to take a second and have a moment of silence, really.
Yeah. Moment of silence, please, everybody.
All right, so of course, this is going to be kind of shots heard around the world at the moment. I don't think anyone was expecting any new bans, restrictions, or anything like that. I have to say, I was extremely surprised when Oscar called today and was like, "Hey, did you see?" And it was kind of like, "No." I'm in the middle of watching the Winter Cup, so I thought, "Hey, if they were going to announce it, they'd announce it there." But no, they did not. So. So if you haven't heard, starting on release of Opus 28, we are going to get a new update to the ban/restriction list. This is only for standard format, so L3, L6, and Title do not have any cards affected by that. And the 4 cards that we're going to be talking about are Opus 11 Tyro, Opus 11 Realm, Opus 16 Atomos, and Opus 19 REFIA. So those first 3 have been completely banned in standard, meaning that you cannot use a single copy in any of your decks. The REFIA is now going to be restricted, meaning that you can only have one of those in your deck. And again, that refers solely to that specific serial. So Opus 11 Tyro and Realm, Opus 16 Atomos, and Opus 19 REFIA. So I personally have not read this information from what Hobby Japan kind of gives their explanations for. So if we don't mind, really quickly, Tyro has maintained a consistently high usage rate due to its searchability with the EX burst and its versatility in generating CP of all elements. While this card's been used in many decks, it's no exaggeration to say that deck building begins with including 3 copies of this card. Therefore, to further promote diversification of the environment, the card will be banned. I will say that if I ever build a deck that includes Earth, it typically includes Tyro. There's very, very, very few decks that I would put Earth in and not include Tyro, so I kind of get the logic behind like what they're saying here, but I don't understand the logic of banning it, truthfully. I don't think anyone was looking at Tyro and saying, "Oh my god, this card needs to be banned." I mean, Oscar, have you heard somebody say that Tyro needs to be banned?
I don't believe so. I've never heard anybody say that. I mean, I know a lot of times it does suck when you take it into EX, when you hit an EX, but I mean, it's not that bad. You kind of
Yeah,
play around it. You
yeah.
know you're expecting it if you see it.
I mean, the only time I've ever had an issue, and issue is a very strong word in this case, but round 2 in the Canadian Materia Cup last year when I was playing against Adam, I think his damage 6 or maybe even his damage 5 was a Tyro, and it let him search just enough CP to be able to bring the game back. But I mean, that happened in round 4 or 5 of the Winter Cup in Pittsburgh, where they hit a Minfilia. So it doesn't matter what they hit. I mean, I think the EX burst is a mild annoyance at best, in my opinion. I think the color fixing was extremely important.
Yeah.
I think if you go after it for its color fixing, then Shantoto's probably on the chopping block at some point, right? Because that's a little crazy. But in my opinion, I think Shantoto's probably a more toxic card than Tyro. In literally in just the way I look at it. I don't know. I think the Tyro one's weird, really, really weird.
Yeah, and we got our play sets
Yeah, they just did
of the
promos.
full art.
Yeah, so like I don't know, very very weird hit there. Now, because of this, I have to imagine that they're preemptively banning Tyro because there's going to be something out there that would break Tyro in a way. I mean, that's kind of like my best guess there, but I mean, I don't know. It kind of like going back and looking at like the Dataluma and stuff like that. Like they banned Dataluma simply because it was too good for too long, and like I don't know. Print better cards. Like I get the whole power creep. I get it. I do, but like I am one for like I don't particularly like bans. I think if you printed a card and you meant it to function a certain way, then it is what it is. Like we either, print cards that fix the issue. I don't like the idea of removing cards from the card pool, I guess. I don't know. That's just me personally.
Yeah.
Realm says, although there is a cost restriction as the card pool expands, the options for monsters that can be searched for have increased, and this card has become increasingly prominent in the environment. Taking into account its current strength and future concerns about the game balance, this card has been banned. Okay, so this is one of those. We knew Realm was eventually going to get too good. And every time they printed a 1 CP or 2 CP monster that did anything remotely good, you heard and like immediate, oh my god, Realm decks are just going to get better. Like I remember when Kulu was revealed. I remember when Witch was revealed. Like anything that interacts with monsters. When Marlboro was revealed. Like all of that stuff. Like, that everyone always moans and groans. It's really weird to me because like if you don't like that specific play pattern, then hey, I understand why you're not playing it. But there's people that do enjoy it, and obviously the card wasn't like running over everybody. It had a specific niche and it filled a specific role, and it did it really well. And obviously it did really good things because monster decks were, they technically won worlds both the last 2 years. So obviously it's really good, but you don't see like the majority of people out there saying like, oh, well, I'm going to pick up monsters just because it's really good. I think it was a really high skill ceiling and an extremely low skill ceiling type of deck. Like, you could crash and burn really, really hard if you didn't know what you were doing with monsters. But if you really did know what you were doing, you could run over people. And I think it's one of those things where I would like to see people rewarded for being really good with them. Tori's a perfectly good example. Tori's obviously known for running a Realm deck, but it was fascinating to watch him play because he's so good at using those resources in a very unique way. I don't know. I really like that. As a player, I'm not a huge monster fan. I use them probably like most laymen do. I just use 1-offs and 2-offs for very specific effects, but I don't turbo realm very often. I've tried in the past and I'm just not very good at it. So I know this is your bread and butter, Oscar, so you gotta pour your heart out on this one.
I'm just sad that it's getting going. Honestly, not so sad because when I first started playing monster decks, I picked up a full art realm promo for. I think I gave like $4 a piece for them. That's before everybody had jumped on monsters. And the first deck that I took to any Final Fantasy event that I played was monsters. It was the Earth Water monsters with crystals, and I actually did pretty well. I ended up top 16, and then after that I was just like really confident with monsters, and I fell in love with it. And I'd yet to do good again with them, but I still love them, and that's where it all started for me competitively was with monsters. It's pretty sad knowing that a key piece is gone.
But you have to imagine they're gonna print different things, right? Like we've already
Yeah,
seen the Golbez. We know the Golbez is on its way, and it's also a 5 CP forward that's gonna go grab you 3 CP worth of monsters. Except it's only, you know, it's only one monster at a time.
yeah. I'm sure monsters will find a way to come around this. Maybe we'll see. It'll be a slower game for sure.
Yeah, I think there's going to be some room to kind of figure out how monsters fit into everything. It's going to be really interesting. I think there's some brewing to be done, and it's, you know, like I'm in a real big brew kick right now. I'm brewing all kinds of just random stuff, which really makes me wonder, like, should I start like a bad deck Friday or bad deck Wednesday or something? Because like there's some stuff in here that's like it's got some thighs, but it may not have its full leg, if you understand what I'm saying. Anyways, I think REFIA will. I'm sorry, not REFIA. I think Realm will definitely be missed, but I think there's gonna be light at the end of the tunnel for monsters. Speaking of which, so Atomos, this card allows you to easily activate backup each turn, providing unexpected development potential in a variety of decks. Not just decks like Wind that rely on cast counts to maintain the health of the environment going forward. This card will be banned. So it's very interesting the way this is worded, because it's worded as if they meant to ban every. This card allows you to easily activate a backup each turn. No, Atomos allows you to activate 2 backups on the second cast. So just saying, maybe they meant to ban every. Can we get a judge over here to look at this? I think honestly, if you ban Realm, then Atomos didn't deserve the hit that it got, because Realm is what Atomos kind of relied on to get out onto the field in decks not just like Wind. I think Wind, it's literally the card that enabled Mono Wind to do the things that it wanted to do a little sooner. Obviously, Opus 14 Rosa being the main thing that like reactivates all your backups, but like Atomos getting you that one step closer on second cast made the third cast just, you know, it just made you be able to do it that much more reliably. But to be fair, Realm is what allowed you to play Atomos outside of Wind. And if we are hitting things like Atomos because they're good in not just decks like Wind, I don't know, that seems a little weird to me. I have to imagine that, you know, possibly this set we're going to get a 2 CP monster that's Wind that's going to knock our socks off. That's my hope. Do I think Mono Wind is like crippled because of Atomos? No, not in the slightest. I do think that you just replace probably those 2 slots you were using for Atomos for something that's going to activate characters or backups anyways. Yes, you can't reliably do it like every single turn, but I can't tell you how many games I played of Mono Wind and never drew my Atomos. So, you know, I'm personally, it's whatever for Atomos. I don't like the consistency leaving Mono Wind, but I also don't think that it deserved to get hit. If Realm got hit, it's weird. That one I don't like very much. But to be fair, you played it in Earthwater Monsters.
I don't like that one either. I did play it in Earthwater Monsters, but now they got rid of my Tyro, so now I can't cast it anymore. So.
Yeah, they literally hit 3 cards out of your entire deck. Like, that's wild. That's rough, dude.
Yeah.
Okay. Last but not least, we do have our restriction as Opus 19 REFIA. So this card is a central part of the long-standing Warrior Light deck. To encourage deck diversification in the environment, we will restrict REFIA, which exerts great dominance on the field, to 1 copy. Alright, so this one's probably been talked about since probably Opus 20. Maybe Opus 21 was when people started first calling for a ban, but I remember in Opus 20 when the Japan list came out, it was like 20 backups and it was like 25 bursts, and it was wild. It was really... Like, I'm looking at that list at the time, and just for context, Oscar and I started playing sort of kind of at the beginning of Opus 18, because Opus 18 was the world set that year. But, you know, we're fairly new to the game, and you see this 20 backup deck that comes out, and I'm looking at it like, whoa, that's really goofy. Like, why would I play 20 backups? And yeah, I just didn't put 2 and 2 together, but it didn't take long that REFIA really like took a hold of like the game entirely and really ran away with everything. I probably my most memorable memory. I don't know. This is the only way I can think to say it right now. Probably, you know, the most memorable thing I can think of REFIA is when Mike Powell ran like the gauntlet on the Materia Cups that year. Was that 2 years ago now? 3 years ago now? He literally won like 4 Materia Cups or something like that. Like, just REFIA dominated like for a long time. And I think people wanted this one. And I'll say that while I dislike it because of reasons that I stated earlier, I understand this one the most. This is the one that I get. Like, I completely understand why they did this one. I think this deserves... it deserves the logic that it has. I do think that there's a subset of people that are kind of more upset that more things didn't get hit, like 4-color wool. But I think that's a topic for another video probably. But anyways... Oscar, I know you've been waiting on REFIA to be banned.
I have. I've kind of fought my ways around it and to deal with it. I remember I was playing, I can't remember what tournament it was, but I ended up removing 2 REFIAs from the game. And then they still ended up accessing the 3rd one. And it just, I couldn't do anything after that. I done exerted all my resources to get rid of 2 and remove them from the break zone, and then the 3rd one just took away with the game. That's like my biggest memory of REFIA. But yeah, I'm glad to see it limited.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, I told Oscar today on the phone that like it's crazy because one of our locals has just started really taken to water lightning monsters, which obviously Realm plays a factor into that. So, you know, that's kind of a big deal for him. But I had also, like, I told myself, all right, you know, Warrior Light honestly is like a little bit more my speed in terms of like what I like want out of a mid-range style deck. More specifically the Bart's version. So today I sat down and kind of started looking over like what the options are now that REFIA is down to 1. And like this is kind of one of the kind of takes that I was looking at today. It's obviously I think you have to lean into the Bart's version unless you're just going to play 4-color good stuff. But like you're going to play a little bit more of a like protection game on that one Refia. Like Oscar said, being able to remove 2 of them from the game and then still that third one being so oppressive. Like one Refia can control the game if you don't have a way out of it. So obviously we've tinkered. Sydney's obviously, showed that Bart's can be extremely powerful. But like, I think if you have some sort of protection for the Refia now, it makes things a lot easier. I do think this Refia is really cool too, by the way. Just in general, I think when Refia attacks, choose a forward your opponent controls. If you control 4 or more warrior lights, remove it from the game. That's really, really cool. But like, in keeping, like, I definitely think you start playing 3 arcs at all time, being able to grab the Refia at damage 3. This Sarah Mobius was an interesting thing that I was looking at today, being able to grab a warrior light from the break zone. Obviously your Kusits are going to be big, and then, like any kind of protection that you can give the Dryad, or the Dryad would give the Refia. The only thing is, thinking, like, kind of, I guess, reactively as best as you can. You're going to have those games where, if your Refia is in hand and they go to Zidane, you're going to have a way to get rid of it before they obviously pick it from your hand or whatever. But anyways, like, shit's going to happen. It just is what it is. Playing the 4th copy of Lena, that was something that Sydney and I were talking about at the Winter Cup, is just having that extra copy of Lena to be able to Lena special whatever you need out of the break zone, whether it's a Bart's or, whatever, right? So I think that becomes even more potent now because you're going to have to get your Refia back. And this is one of those where, like, losing Tyro, like, is a weird hit to this deck because obviously, like, it's a burst. It's something that we wanted so that we could, if we were to take it as damage, go grab something or whatever. But, I that's like the Sarah Mobius is one of the things that I was looking at that's like, hey, it's an Earth backup that's got a burst that lets me go get something. It may not be from the deck, but at least it'll get me something. So not being able to, Bart's for the Sarah Mobius is a little rough, but, you don't really need Earth CP with Bart's anymore because you're going to always go get that Kryl. I don't know. This was just like a quick take that I had earlier today. But, yeah, I don't know. Refia's a very, very powerful card. And I completely understand exactly where it's at right now. I do think they didn't want to outright ban it. Probably because of the legend rule is what everybody talks about. But, Cecil got banned. But I don't know. I do like the fact that they don't completely kill it. I like the fact that it's there. Oscar may remember, but the mono water Refia that I had, I always thought was really fun because you have enough warrior lights and water to be able to do the Refia spin. Plus, you have the LB warrior light, which is also in water. So, anyways, yeah. Oscar, you have anything else to say about the bans or restrictions?
Not really. Not much.
All right. So on.
Although it's just.
Go ahead.
Just realm. It's. I was just saying, just realm. It's just sucks that it's gone, but it is what it is.
Yeah. So on to, I guess, our good bit of news. What was intended to be our good news. Oscar and I did have a spoiler. We've talked about this guy a little bit offline, and we think he's kind of cool. So we're here to show you him today. We have Baknami. He is a 2 CP standard unit backup from the category MBM, which is Moogle Bounty Mayhem. For tap and put him into the break zone, or should I say dull, put him into the break zone. Choose one forward of 3 or less, break it. You can only use this ability during your turn and if you control 5 or more backups. So, kind of cool. Like, I personally like the 2 CP backup aspect of it. I'm not a big lightning gamer, but 5 or more backups is, obviously you're either ramping by like turn 3, you could probably have that going, or maybe turn 2 if you're like really, really trucking. But I like the fact that it's not strictly mono lightning. It's not if you control 5 or more lightning backups. So you do have a little bit of flexibility there. But yeah, it's a pretty standard effect on a standard unit. Lightning seems to be doing a lot of this whole choose a forward of 3 or less and break it kind of deal. But yeah, Oscar, what are your thoughts?
It's pretty cool. It's a straight break. The art is pretty cool, and I did end up buying the board game that it come from. We were going to try and do something with that, but we still need to play it. I think it's going to be pretty cool.
Yes.
And funny thing is, that'll be the first Final Fantasy thing that I've ever played if we do.
That is true. That is true. Yeah, his art is really cool. It is by Ryoma Ito, so she's done quite a few different illustrations for several different cards up to this point, across multiple different opuses. But yeah, super cool little guy. We hope you guys enjoy the spoiler there. I will be putting it out there as soon as this video goes live, so yeah. Yeah, I think that's it for me, Oscar.
Yay for FFTCG.
Do what?
I said it's a big day for FFTCG.
It is. It is. I did not expect any of this right here at all. That's a wild one to me. But,
yeah, for sure.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, we will, I guess, see you in the next one. And Oscar, I hope to see you Tuesday.
Don't know. We'll see.
All right.